So I'm really torn whether I should get the Honor Magic V6 or stay with the V5, especially with the Oppo Find N6 being so good. And we've got so many different phones coming out. I mean, we've got the wide versions that are coming out this year, and I want people to pick up some of those. And if you don't know this already, I pay for every single phone out of pocket. I have nobody sending me review units. Okay. Nobody's sponsoring the channel and providing devices for me. This is all out of pocket. So I have to spend wisely. And the question I still have, it's on my mind, is there really enough improvement on the Honor Magic V6 to make it worth the upgrade? Let's talk about it. So here I stand in front of the camera looking at the Honor Magic V5. I mean, when you stare at the screen and you see these specs, check them out with me. You can see there's not a whole lot of difference between the phones. I mean, the top line, the big difference is you got a 6,660 milliamp hour battery versus a 5820, which we know this 5820 is really good, and it still lasts me all day and into the next day, and actually beats out most of my other phones. So there's nothing wrong with this battery size. And as far as the processor, this thing's got last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen Elite in it, and this year they're coming out with the Elite 5, but even this one has the Elite 5. Yes, it's a 7 core, but whenever I run performance tests against the Honor Magic V5, all the 8 Gen Elite 5s lose because they throttle them so much, because I guess they're so powerful, they overheat the devices, and of course they try and make the devices thinner. And in doing so, you're gonna have to really manipulate the heat. And when we go back to this chart, we can see that the Honor Magic V6 is supposedly a little bit thinner. I mean, it's 4.1 millimeters thick when unfolded versus 4.2 right here. This is 4.2. And of course, you're going to put a case on them. At least I do. I put the case that comes with them on them because I just really enjoy this case with the kickstand. I'm not sure if the new one comes with that or not, but this is something I really do enjoy. And of course, the case adds to the thickness just a little bit, but not enough to really make a difference for me. And then when you look at the weight, the V5 is actually lighter at 217 grams, and the V6 is 219 grams. So it's actually a little bit thinner, but a little bit heavier. And when you look at the folded dimensions, they're the same, 9 millimeters, and it's just because of that camera pop out. So what does that mean? I don't really know. I don't understand how it could be thinner, and I think they just mean at a certain point, like maybe this side of the phone is thinner than the other side, so they're only measuring the thinnest side. I mean, that's minuscule. That's not enough to really make a difference. And then when we go to the IP rating, okay, you have IP 68 and 69 versus 58 and 59 on the Honor Magic V5. So you do have a little bit better water and dust resistance on V6. Now, I'm not in those situations where it really makes a difference to me. I don't work in any kind of high pressure water systems. I don't go swimming with my phones, although you still can with an IP58. And I don't really work in a big dust environment. So for me, it doesn't really matter. But for those of you that do, okay, maybe that makes a difference. Now, as far as overall strength, I really don't know how strong the V6 is compared to the V5. I mean, you see these older videos where they're demonstrating how strong the V5 is. I don't know if they did anything on the internal of the V6 to make it stronger, but the V5 is super strong in and of itself. Now let's go on down the chart here and you look at the display. Same size, 9.7, 9.7. Oh, we can look at the supposedly the LTPO2 in the new V6 versus the V5. I don't know if these old eyes can tell the difference, and I bet you most people can't really tell the difference. What does that do for us? I don't really know. But, the nits ratings is about the same, 5,000 peak. But I just wonder if it's real brightness, because when it comes to going outside, the Oppo Find N6, which doesn't have as high a peak rating, I think it's 3,600. But it seems brighter to me than the Honor Magic V5. Is the V6 any different? Have they adjusted that, or they just kept the same ratings, because of HDR content or whatever? And if you haven't seen my video, Specs Lie, they do lie. This one's supposed to be one of the brightest ones out there, but it's not. And my suspicion is that the V6 is not any different. Then, of course, the external display. Now, that's interesting. Although the overall dimensions of the Honor Magic V6 is smaller, they're claiming the external screen is larger at a 6.52 versus a 6.43 on here. So what does that mean? I guess less borders on the phone. So then I wonder if you can really notice a difference between the 6.4 versus a 6.5, because this is a 6.6 and you can notice it and you can tell why this is a 6.6. It's taller, so it does have a longer diagonal, but does it really look that much bigger? I say it doesn't. So the V6 coming in at a little bit smaller, I don't see how that's going to make a huge difference whatsoever. So to me, that's pretty much the same. And then we've already talked about the platform and the OS. It's the same. This has already got 16. The new one's going to have 16, or maybe they're waiting for 17 to come out. I doubt it. I'm sure it's going to be released with 16. Well, we've already got Android 16 on here and Magic OS 10. So there's not any difference in the platform. And then when you go to the internals, this thing has 512 gigabytes of storage. Same with the Honor Magic V6. And then this one has 512 storage with 16 gigabytes of RAM right from the factory. And that 16 gigs comes with the 512. Well, guess what? The V6 comes with a 512 gigabytes of storage version. It only has 12 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm concerned if I go with the V6, I'm going to have to pay a lot more money if I want the 16 gigabytes of RAM. So you need to be careful if you're going to order the V6 and you want the 512. You could end up getting the 12 gigabytes of RAM if you don't pay attention and pay extra. And I know a lot of that could be because of the RAM shortage these days, but that's one reason why I'm really not sure that I want to upgrade. Now let's go on to talk about the cameras. Okay, the cameras are pretty much identical. Check out the spec sheet here. We got a 50, a 64, and a 50. And all the specs are exactly the same. I mean, look at the sheet. You know, there's no changes. The only change that they may have is in processing, but you know, processing they can actually add to this unless it's chip-based processing, you know, Elite 5. But the Elite 5, as we know, is throttling everything. So I don't know that it's any more powerful than what we have here, a Elite. So is the processing any better? Is it not something they could actually tweak on this with software? And as far as photography and the cameras, this one is still among the top, although I really do like the Oppo Find N6. And the Oppo Find N6, I believe, beats it on video, but on photography, especially when you get to the zoom lens, because you have 64 megabytes here and only 50 megabytes. I said megabytes, I meant megapixels. 64 versus 50, you still get just a little bit more detail on the zooming with the Honor Magic than you do the Oppo Find N6, but not enough to really see a huge difference. I mean, they are very close to the same. The difference is this one does have that 200 megapixel main camera, which this one's a 50. So I think that's the biggest difference when it comes to video. It's coming out of the 200 megapixel lens versus this one being a 50. So you get just a little bit more clarity and detail. But the bottom line between these two and photography, it all comes down to processing. Who processes better? And they're both improving day by day, or I should say upgrade by upgrade of the software, that is. So anyway, I think that I'm not going to get anything different out of the Honor Magic V6. But we really don't know for sure since they have not lifted the embargo yet, and we haven't really seen any battles with the Honor Magic V6. Now, of course, that would be one big reason for me to get the V6 is so I can do that battle and compare them. And I may end up missing that opportunity this year because there's so many other foldables coming out, like the Motorola Fold that is hitting here tomorrow, and I want to be able to afford that. And then, of course, we have the wides that are coming out this year. So spending my money on a phone that's pretty much the same just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, can't stop there. There's two other main categories. There is the sound, and I don't hear a whole lot of difference between the two. They're about the same. If you want to check out the comparison, I would look at that video here and you can see the difference. But there's not enough difference to make a difference. And I don't think the V6 is going to be any different on sound. And then lastly, when it comes down to battery, yes, get a better or bigger battery on the V6 and actually is larger than this one, which is a 6,000 milliamp hour battery on the Oppo Find N6. So having a 6600 milliamp hour battery would be a nice thing. But again, you have to internalize, is it worth upgrading for that one feature, especially when this thing still outlasts most of my other devices and is a great 2-day phone. So I'm going to leave it there. What do you think? Should I get the Honor Magic V6 and maybe not some of the newer phones? I mean, because that's the option. It'd be nice if I could trade this in, but we don't have that option here in the US. I can't trade in Honor Magic V5, whereas on most of my devices, that's what I do, is I trade in to upgrade. Now, what is exciting is that there is that Motorola Fold that's coming out. It's another trade-in opportunity because I do have phones to trade in for that phone. So that's going to help me in purchasing that one. So I want to hear from you. I need you guys' help. What do you think? You know, should I hold off with the new folds that are coming out and not worry about the V6? And I've got the same situation coming up with the Samsung Z Fold 8. You know, it's not going to be a whole lot of difference from the Z Fold 7. So I'm going to hold off for that wide. And then, of course, we have the iPhone Fold coming up here later on this year. If you want to see some complete battles between these two phones, I would start off with this video here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so you don't miss out on further content and so you can check out the other videos. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.